Broadcasting live from the blood-stained floors of the world's most dangerous martial arts dojos to the pages of the world's deadliest comic books ever made. This is the world's deadliest podcast.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about, we wanted to do Bane, but Bane is such a massive story arc, and there's so much content and stuff to go through there that I'm going to need a little more time to do the research on it. So we're going to do Bane next week.
Yeah, I had no idea. I mean, you're like I was going to call you a nerd, but I'll be nice and say you're the, analyst on the comic book side. I had no idea. You said it was, bigger than a phone book, the story arc.
Yeah, Bane was kind of birthed out of this whole Nightfall series that came out in the early 90s, and it's massive. And it's epic. It's really good. So what we're going to do is we'll pull out, I'll kind of go through it and pull out the key beats in the story that we would want to kind of wrap on. But before Bane, Batman had encounters with pro wrestlers. And the one that we're going to go through today is from Detective Comics 355. Batman has a full-on encounter run-in with this pro wrestler named the Hooded Hangman. Before we get too deep into this podcast, I want to update everyone real quick on the progress of my comic book, Strength Monsters. It's about two professional wrestlers that go on adventures and stuff together. It's kind of like SpongeBob SquarePants meets Masters of the Universe, but it's a lot less annoying, and it's got a lot more toe holds and a lot more headlocks in it. It's written by myself. It's also primarily illustrated by myself as well. And right now, if you go to strengthmonsters.com, you can download the first issue for free. All you have to do is go to strengthmonsters.com, put your name and email in the little box, and within a matter of minutes, you'll be emailed a free copy of the book. What's really cool is that I've been working really hard on coloring this comic, and I'm almost finished. I have about a page left. I've got then to go back and just make sure everything's consistent, polish everything off, and I'll be done. And once I've finished coloring this comic, I'm going to send the full color digital copy of this comic to everyone that has downloaded this book. So go over there right away, strengthmonsters.com. Get yourself on that email list so I can share the full color version of this comic with you. As soon as I have it finished, I want to share it with as many people as I can. I think you'll find that it's a lot of fun, and I can't wait to send you this book when it's done. It's pretty crazy because we're in this 1960s era of DC Comics where the 1960s is basically when Marvel overtook DC in popularity and I believe eventually even in sales. Prior to then, DC Comics was they were the leader in comic books in sale. Actually, they weren't. The biggest selling comic book was Donald Duck. I think it was called Disney's Comics and Stories or something. Donald Duck was in the golden age of comic books, the Donald Duck comic. That was the number one selling comic book, dude. But DC,
I would never have known that.
Yeah, it was because it was an international phenomenon. I mean, those things were being sold all over the world in huge numbers. I think it was Walt Disney's Comics and Stories was what it was called, and Donald Duck was the main feature, and that was where he had his three nephews and Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and Duckburg and all the stuff that they made the cartoons about later. That was all based on golden age 1940s Donald Duck comic books. But
whoa,
1960s.
That's so gnarly.
Yeah, so 1960s Batman is DC was going down kind of into this route of like a lot of corny kind of story arcs, like what we read with the Superman one a few weeks ago. And Marvel, like we just read last week with Spider-Man, they were putting out like a lot more kind of sophisticated storytelling. They had more sophisticated, well-developed story arcs. And, they were just basically starting to put out a better product. However, DC had way more success than Marvel, like in films and movies and stuff, way before Marvel Comics did. So right now, you know how the Marvel movies are like massive.
Yeah, DC is having a hard time.
DC can't get it together, yeah. Well, Batman became a television show in January 1966.
Yeah, that's huge.
When that happened, literally Batman became like $1 billion property. Right. And it's not that DC Comics was getting $1 billion, but it was all the money that was like the TV show was making, the actors were getting paid, the licensing, all the merchandising that was coming out, the whole Batmania that swept through the nation was valued was around $1 billion of commerce that was taking place under the name of Batman.
That's unbelievable. That's like amazing, man.
Yeah, dude. So it was way gnarly, and this comic came out in like September 1966. So like this is like the few towards the end of the year, the first year the Batman television show had been on TV.
Oh, I see.
So like if you look at the cover, you can see that we've got the Hangman holding Batman up by like his cape, and it says "Holy Gallows."
Yeah.
So you can already see like the television influence was like.
Yeah, it's like cross promoting, kind of use the same unified promoting across platforms. Back before there was a million platforms, there was just comic book and TV.
Yeah. And, later on, DC had Superman was like their first big comic book film, the original like Christopher Reeves one. And that was like a huge success. Like they made a ton of money off that. And then in 1989, Batman, Tim Burton's Batman, that was like a huge movie. So like DC was having all this television and movie success like way decades before Marvel. Marvel like couldn't get anything made into any kind of popular TV or television show at all.
Well, they did get the Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk in like the late 70s
with Lou Ferrigno,
crazy huge. With Lou Ferrigno,
Yeah, it's true. They had that, and they had.
But they tried to do a Spider-Man, and I remember I was like a little kid. I was all into it, and shit. But I mean, they never. I think it was like 2 seasons. It didn't even really go.
Their Spider-Man was a flop. You know what?
Right. I'm looking at this ad, dude, for the Polaris nuclear sub, man. This thing is 7 feet long, enough for 2 kids. It fires rockets and torpedoes, and it's only freaking $7, dude. It has a real periscope, an electrically lit instrument panel.
Holy crap!
Seats 2 kids.
Dude, I gotta try.
This is awesome.
I gotta try.
Where the hell are these toys for us,
dude,
man?
And the picture is like a very realistic rendering of a submarine, and it looks like a missile, and it's got a rocket coming out of this hatch on the top.
Yeah, torpedoes are coming out.
Yeah, dude. And then there's like 2 cartoon kids like, waving like, check out my nuclear sub.
I'm just going to say that the ads at DC, or at least in this issue, like they have stepped their shit up because it was nudie-driven art devices and workout plans for $1.98 in those ones that we were looking at last podcast. But now for Spider-Man,
Right.
in that Amazing Fantasy. But now these are $6.98 for a 2-person submarine. And then under that, you can also buy an electronic computer brain. This is all for $4.99. It adds, subtracts, multiplies, and memorizes. Even tells fortunes.
Dude, I gotta try and find these things, man. Like,
your wife will be so pissed if you show up with a 2-person submarine.
and an electronic computer brain. It says, train it to do your bidding.
I know, like,
rush me my electronic computer brain at once. I understand if I am not 100% delighted, I may return it for a full prompt refund of my purchase price.
That's awesome. Well, I gotta say, on this first page of Batman, that looks like Batman is going to die from that full Nelson. Well, it's not really a full Nelson either. I don't know how the hell he's got the leverage on that because he doesn't have it under the arm.
That's right.
But
that's right. I wanted to talk about that. I'm glad you noticed.
It's supposed to be a full Nelson, but clearly the guy doesn't. The artist isn't really.
So here's the deal. So you guys know what Jake's talking about. You have a full page, splash page, of this guy, the hooded hangman, who's basically a guy with a hood over his head, like an executioner, like that would axe people's heads off, and tights. And he's like a Kane Undertaker type of pro wrestler. Totally. And he's huge. He's massive compared to Batman.
But Batman is not about to be suplexed.
He's got his hooks in behind the hoodman's ankles and stuff. Like, if somebody goes behind you and like they body lock you or whatever, they want to pick you up and soup you, one thing you can do is hook their leg with your own leg, so when they pick it up, you're anchored on to their leg. They can't elevate you up high enough. And Batman actually has those hooks on the hangman.
Yeah, that's an interesting piece of detail to get right, and then you miss the entire full Nelson.
Okay.
It's like a weird botched 3/4 Nelson or something.
Yeah, so the hold he has is the hands are behind Batman's neck, just like a full Nelson, but they're not under Batman's armpits and applied to his neck. They're over his shoulders and put on the neck. So if you try to do it this way...
Batman could just drop his level and turn around.
Right. You would never be able to apply the correct leverage, and like Jake said, you'd get out. Now here's the thing. Why is it wrong? I'll tell you. This is 1966. Batman. We're post-Comics Code Authority. And so they would not allow... The full Nelson was considered too dangerous to put in comic books now, to show kids. So to get by, they had to put it in there incorrectly, so that if a kid tried this, they wouldn't actually hurt anyone.
That is so crazy.
Dude, it's crazy. Now look at this, dude. So Jake, I sent you like three JPEGs from an early. Now this is from Batman or from Detective Comics. I think like number 44. Is that what it is?
That's what it says here.
44.
Are you looking at number 1 JPEG, 2 or 3?
Okay, so number 1 and 2, just to give you an idea, Batman and Robin. This is Golden Age Batman now. So this is like 1940s Batman, pre-Comics Code Authority. So there's nobody censoring this stuff, nobody telling them what's appropriate and what's not. Batman and Robin have, Batman has followed a clue that's led him to this like mad scientist doctor's house. And he's got these giant ray guns that are concentrating like this light beam in the middle of a room. And they see the doctor walk through the light beam and disappear. So Batman and Robin follow him and they end up in this other strange world of giants where everything is giant. So they're like in this land of giants. And they're walking through this house, and there's this gigantic cat, like, following Robin. And it's like the size of, like, I don't know, a dinosaur, this cat. and it attacks Robin. You go to the next page, and this cat's about to get Robin. Are you following with me, Jake? You see Robin on the floor?
Yeah. So, they're in a castle, and this gigantic cat is sneaking up and pounces on Robin. And Batman tackles it.
Tackles it from behind and says, "Not so fast, pussy." Jake and I have several wrestling camps coming up really soon. We've got 2 catch wrestling camps coming up in August in California, and we have 2 camps scheduled in September in the UK. To get all the information about these camps, the times, the dates, the cost, registration, whatever else you would want to know, go visit scientificwrestling.com. If you want to come out and spend a couple of days with me and Jake, hanging out, talking shop, working some technique, training, having fun, working your wrestling, come out to one of these camps. All the information's at scientificwrestling.com. It's a ton of fun. I can promise we'll have a great time. And I hope to see as many people there as possible.
Yeah, I wish he was just so like not PC. He's like, not so fast, pussy.
Yeah. Okay, so he's got the cat kind of in a chokehold. Now go to the next one.
I know. Hold on, it's loaded. Oh, yeah.
He puts him in he puts this cat in a full-blown full Nelson with
kills it, basically.
What's that? Yeah, and he kills it. He kills it. It literally says, his muscles bunching from the strain, the Batman draws his arm tighter and tighter until he feels the body go limp beneath him.
Yeah.
And then in the next panel, the cat's dead, like just lying on the floor, and Robin's like,
and this is an earlier issue.
Yeah, this is 19. I think this is like 1940, probably around 1940. 2 or 43, something like that, early 1940s.
I see. So we can't get down on Batman for messing up the full Nelson. We got to get down on the comics code for messing up.
It's the comics code that did it. And because right here you see a fully correctly applied full Nelson.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a really cool drawing.
And not only does he do it, but he actually kills animals with it.
Yeah, I know. He actually kills a pussy.
Yeah. But anyway, dude, back to this one, this detective. So now they're in the wrestling ring. Okay, so clearly they're on a rooftop or something in this issue. Hate of the Hooded Hangman is the issue, and they're at the top on a roof at night with the moon in the background, and with this ill-begotten full Nelson that we'll let pass. But Batman's actually doing real good. He's not about to take a full Nelson suplex, which would kill him on pavement. So he puts his hooks in, and now they're back at a sporting event, and it's it's a Native American pro wrestler versus the Hangman. Yeah, dude. You were actually telling me even once about some wrestler from Pro Wrestler, something from Colorado, a real wrestler that like actually killed a dude with a full Nelson.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so Charles Olson, it was the guy from Colorado that got killed, yeah. That's actually a really weird, creepy story because, the guy who got killed with the full Nelson in the ring by Charles Olson, he actually got killed down in Texas. I want to say it was like El Paso or San Antonio, a match down there. But it was back in the day when these guys would wrestle each other. But so the guy who got killed, his name that he wrestled in Texas, where he got killed, his name was Stanley Lake. That was the name he picked, Stanley Lake. Well, Stanley Lake is actually a lake that's about 10 miles from where I grew up. In fact, it's the hotspot of a huge, what's called the America's Chernobyl of Rocky Flats. I grew up like 10 miles away from this. And anyway, so Stanley Lake was, I cannot remember the name of his real name, but he was the Colorado State catch wrestling champion. He was the champion in the entire territory of Colorado, right? But he couldn't make money. Like, nobody would wrestle him because he was the champ. They're like, yeah, I'm not going to bet you. You know, you're already the champ, dude. Like, I'm not going to give him my money.
Yeah.
So he would travel under this fake name to go hustle up money, right? Well, he did that to the wrong guy. He ended up in a match with Charles Olson, and Charles Olson freaking snapped his neck. You know, I mean, it was a friendly match. Charles Olson isn't evil. He didn't go to jail for manslaughter or anything like that. It was just something happened in the ring. But he killed a guy, the Colorado champion, with a full Nelson hold. So it's a killer for sure.
That's gnarly, man. Wow. So that guy, Charles Olson, he was also just like a legitimate wrestler that knew
the sad thing is that was only the first man. He killed another dude in the ring too. I just can't remember the circumstances of that one. I'd have to look it up.
The dude was probably this full Nelson. Maybe that was like one of his. Do you know? Was that like one of his go-to holds or something?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, this is why it was banned from amateurs. I mean, you will kill somebody. And to be honest, so like when I was grappling at stuff, like no, you know how like nobody does. Or nobody did leg locks, and still nobody does cradles, and nobody does Nelsons. And I'll tell you, I used to do this front full Nelson, and nobody saw it coming at all because they'd all tuck their head for the hurdle. But man, you could really get some pressure going with this thing. The full Nelson's dangerous. It's a dangerous hold. There's no joke about it.
Yeah. It's almost one of those holds, though. It's like I could see you being able to beat a lot of people with it. Because it's so dangerous, nobody's trained it.
That's the danger.
Nobody's trained it, so they don't even know it. They're not even aware of when you're running that program on them. You know what I'm saying? And
don't let somebody freaking get you there. Like it's like rear naked choke. Everybody's like, duh, don't get in one.
Right?
You know what I mean?
Totally. They have a defense.
But this one will kill you. Like there's no easing off or having your guy lift your legs up and get the blood flow back to your brain. You do this, you've severed the cervical nerves. You'll kill the person for sure.
That's gnarly, man.
It's a rough hold. Yeah, you're totally right. And it's wrestling holds are like guns. It's like okay, yeah, you're going to ban a wrestling hold. Okay, that's great. But now practically nobody's going to be learning how to counter defend and not get into that hold, and only the assholes are going to be using that hold. So it's. I mean, I think you can have more dangerous holds if it is very clear in your rules meeting before the match is don't kill anybody. You know what I mean? And if you have these are the holds that are deadly holds. If you have them in and the ref is there, the ref can at any time could call the match. And that's when they should. That's the problem, in my opinion, of having refs that don't know the game, that haven't gotten injured, that don't know what's up. Because you could go as hard as you want as long as the ref, I mean, you got to be smart. I mean, if you put on a hold and crank it too fast or whatever, obviously, you really hurt somebody. But, like, a lot of these holds don't necessarily have to be banned. You just have to have mutual respect between the players and the ref,
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I started to. Well, one of the reasons why I really was interested in catch wrestling early on was just because I wanted to learn the holds that had been banned and that people weren't using, and that's what I liked about it. That's why I find it weird when you come across other catch wrestlers that want to ban holds. Because I'm like, well, I got into this because I wanted to do no holds barred.
Yeah, it's weird because catch is such a weird, broad subject, and everybody wants to pigeonhole it and say there's this one way, and it's like it's such a broad thing, man. Like, so yes, the strain. I mean, that's why you and I got to be friends. The strain that both of us liked are this no holds barred, like Wild West, gnarly, technical style of wrestling where everything's allowed. But, there are people within catch and it's just as legitimate and they don't want to say, well, there were matches where the full Nelson and the strangle were barred. And I can see that. I can understand why. It's not what I like.
Right.
But just because I like a plaid jacket doesn't mean the other guy can't have a pinstripe one. You know what I mean? It's like, whatever, dude.
Yeah, and I also understand how certain holds, if you bar them, it can lend to more wrestling. Like there's certain wrestling techniques that they won't work as effectively if you're allowed to strangle the guy. Or
100%.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you want to see more wrestling, as in like what you see in, folk style and such.
You take out the submission.
You start taking out submissions. You take out submissions, you'll see more wrestling. You add in more submissions, you're going to see less wrestling.
Well, what ends up happening is, catch in itself is a really tough game because anytime you add to the game, it can get more difficult, right? Like, so you can win, like in no gi or whatever they call it now, just typical grappling. I prefer that term. But in grappling, they just have to get a submission, right?
Right.
But with catch, it's a submission and a pin. So, man, defensively, you have to be working twice as hard.
Yes.
And so it just changes the complexion. That's why folk style looks like it does, because it's pin only, and grappling looks like it does. It's sub only. A catch is when you mash them up. Yes. That's what I like.
Yeah.
But, it's everybody's got their own tastes,
Right, 100%. I mean, it's like we've talked about before, too. It's like any rule set you come up with is going to have inherent weaknesses embedded within it. It doesn't matter what rules you think of. So it's one of those things where it's like, so the more, depending on what you're into, what your goals are, whatever, the more rules if you're training, the more rules you train under, the more different rule sets you expose yourself to, the less likely you are to have to develop the inherent weaknesses that would result or come about as a result of that rule set.
I think the problem happens when, you definitely have like an IBJJF style, right? Like there's a style from them having to wrestle under those rules with those no leg locks or whatever, and it looks a certain way. Yeah. And they're great in that those athletes pay very serious attention to those rules, make their game plans, train for it, win championships, and they are tougher than hell in those. But it's the same thing with kickboxing. Under those rules set, those guys train hard, and they fight, and they're tougher than nails. Where people get all mixed up is when you mix the no-gi guy with the IBJJF guy or the kickboxing guy with the MMA guy. It's just, they're different. They're athletes train for different things, and you can't expect the guy who didn't train for it to not be able to pull it off.
Yeah. I mean, styles evolve and develop as a result of rule sets. Usually whatever the most popular, predominant rule set of the time is will be the most common, popular style you'll come across. And you can have
100%.
You can have sub-variations of styles within a set of rules, but the predominant factor that's going to predict a style is going to be the most common rule set under which that sport's practiced.
Now, I am scanning through here and looking at the wrestling, and I could see that the hangman is fond of the rear naked choke, it looks like, too. Because I could see him strangling this Native American wrestling guy on page 2 already.
Right. So that's basically what we have is in the first 2 pages, you've got this in-ring action of this guy who's called the Apache going against the hangman. And he gets him in a choke. He elevates him with the choke, slams him on the ground, and pins him.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yes. It's great. The in-ring action sequencing is awesome. This comic was drawn by a guy named Sheldon Moldoff. And Sheldon Moldoff he was one of like the original Golden Age Batman artists, and he was one of the better ones. And
yeah, it's really good, right? Because he's establishing that Hangman is a deadly force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. So we have Batman and Dick Grayson, Robin, in their normal civilian clothes. First, they're all talking outside as the audience files out of the ring. They're saying, we still don't know the Hangman's real identity, the different audience members. So they don't even know who the Hangman is because he's masked. And they're like, we'll never know. We'll never know it because he'll never get beaten. So, like, that's part of the gimmick, I guess, of the Hangman is you're never going to know who he is unless he loses and someone can take his mask off. And then Batman and Robin have been at this wrestling match, of course, because they all, like all intelligent people, go and watch pro wrestling regularly.
Yes, yes. 100%. I love the panel on page 1 where Dick and Bruce are talking and Batman, Bruce Wayne says, Dick says, do you think the Apache can win, Bruce? And Bruce Wayne, which clearly to me is a flaw in the writing, because if he is such a badass, he should be able to ascertain each of these men by just looking at them to see who would win, because he is the Batman after all. But he's instead rooting for the Apache, and he says, I'd like to see the Hangman unmasked, which is just ironic of Batman wanting to see anybody unmasked.
Yeah, it is. That is funny that of all the guys, you know, you got this dude that wears a mask like half the time of his life in a secret identity, and he wants to see the other guy with a secret identity get doxxed.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Right. So Dick and Bruce are Dick really wants to dox fucking Hangman, but Bruce in that last panel of page 2 is like, yeah, it's tempting, but that kind of sounds like he's not going to do it. Oh yeah, they're too busy. That's what it says. He says, but if we did unmask him, it would have to be in our spare time and for our own private satisfaction. I mean, okay, so clearly there's no idea here that there's a work. This poor Hangman's about to be doxxed by Batman and Robin, and Batman doesn't even know that pro wrestling's fixed at this point. This is the late 60s. Mid-60s.
So you got to remember that Batman is supposed to be like the world's greatest detective. So
but he doesn't know pro wrestling's fake.
Yeah, he doesn't know pro wrestling's fake, but if he really wanted to find out who the Hangman is, he could figure it out because he's the greatest, world's greatest detective. Okay, so where are we now?
So now we're on that page 3, and they're being leisurely bachelors or whatever the hell they do.
Yeah, where they're like lounge. This is something they do all the way going back to the Golden Age. Like Batman and Robin, there'd always be these scenes where they're just like kind of kicking it, like lounging around their mansion. And
with
just
like smoking jackets and shit.
Yeah, and Batman would like Bruce Wayne he no longer now in the 60s because now we're post comic code, but before that in the 40s and stuff, he would always be like smoking a pipe and then and like reading a paper or something, and then like commenting, bantering back and forth with Robin. You know, I always loved that because as a kid I always liked that scene because I always thought, yeah, how cool would it be to like be friends with like Batman and like hang out with him, you know, and just be like talking with them like that and stuff.
Yeah, like chilling, like you're down. But that's kind of like what we were like with Billy Robinson, to be honest.
That's totally what it was like, dude. I mean, literally, that was like one of the things I was most sad about when I died. Like I was sad to not be able to learn from him anymore, but I was just as sad, just all the dinners and just like the kicking around and like talking crazy history bullshit. And stuff. Yeah, was over, and I was like, "Damn it! I can't believe it's over."
I know, that was fun. Okay, so they're lounging, and then for whatever reason, they decide to go out on patrol with Batman and Robin, or just Batman.
Just Batman, yeah. A burglar alarm goes off down the street, and Batman's like going out to investigate.
And he's chasing somebody that's fleeing the scene, and it's the Hangman who he tackles.
Yeah. And so now
he says right here, and this is a very interesting point about the whole vigilante thing. The hangman just happened to be running from the store. We don't know if he had anything to do with it. And in fact, he picks up Batman, who Batman tackled him first. And Batman's like, hey, or the hangman's like, hey, what's the idea, Batman? And then he says, I didn't rob that store. I'm innocent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he picks up Batman by the lapels, it kind of looks like. And Batman tries to punch him.
Batman tries to punch him, and then Hangman takes him out with like a two-handed, I don't know what you would call that strike. Like it's like a double fist, like two-handed slap.
Yeah, it's a two-handed strike. Like,
two-handed strike.
Like when you put your hands together and
boom,
hit somebody in the back or the head or something. Yeah, it's like that would be the worst possible kind of strike you could do to somebody. By the way, that would be totally ineffective in my opinion.
Yeah, I can't see like that. Does look like a pro wrestling strike. Like you can hit somebody with it really hard.
On the top, it's an Undertaker type move where you're on the top turnbuckle and you just jump down and hit him with both your hands at the same time.
Yeah, and you can hit him really hard and it wouldn't really hurt him. But dude, the drawing is amazing. I mean, it's like the action. Batman's like getting knocked back. The Hangman in the next panel picks Batman up over his head with two hands, and then throws him into a light pole,
which bends. It's such a hard blow. The light post bends like a freaking letter C.
Yeah, and
he's about to unmask him because Batman's out. Dude, Batman does not do well with wrestlers, man. He should have watched her. He did not watch early UFCs.
He just got his ass kicked. And yeah, Batman's about to get unmasked by the Hangman. So the guy that Batman wanted to unmask is now about to unmask him. And luckily for Batman, the police start coming. He hears the siren. And so the Hangman takes off. And Batman's left there by himself.
Okay, so clearly that is like the cliffhanger, right?
That's the cliffhanger, because now
and then they have like 5-page ads, which are just like ridiculous, dude. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it's like an amusement.
So these are just those like when companies try to make their own comic book to sell you shit in the middle of a comic book, and it's never as good.
Look at this one. Get hip to old folks. Published as a public service in cooperation with the National Social Welfare Assembly, coordinating organization for national health, welfare, and recreation agencies of the U.S.
What in the hell?
Dude, does that still exist? What is that? That's weird. And it's like
So basically, it's an ad about old people and young people getting together to learn about ducks.
That's what it is, yep.
That's very weird. And then the next ad are these kids getting us some cool spy gear. And then we get back to Hate of the Hooded Hangman Part 2.
Okay.
And Batman and Bruce and Dick are back at the mansion chilling over some breakfast, it looks like.
Yeah, and Batman's reading the paper. He's got a couple Band-Aids on his face.
Yeah, he's looking jacked.
Because he got thrown into a light post.
Well, he did take that double hand wallop, so that might be the bandages on the face.
Yeah. So later that night, Batman goes back on patrol.
He's back on patrol. Okay, yes. And then the Hangman's out again in full wrestling garb. There's not a wrestling ring anywhere to be seen, but he's out in a dark alley dressed up in a crazy outfit.
And and then they have another encounter. So somebody's yelling for help. Batman shows up to where he hears the yelling. There's the Hangman, and the Hangman again puts him into the full Nelson done incorrectly.
From the teaser from the very first panel.
So this is what the first panel teaser is. We finally see it.
Yeah, we've caught up. And Batman escapes it, and his escape is very easily because the hold's not applied correctly. He just pushes his elbows up off his head. And let's see. Batman says, "Wow,
I'm performing a citizen's arrest, and you're resisting, Hangman. You're forcing me to take action."
Does that fucking work, dude? Does a citizen's arrest actually work? Can I go out right now and arrest somebody?
I've looked on YouTube. Okay, as far as the actual law goes, I have no freaking idea.
Dude, that sounds more like kidnapping, dude. You can't, like, be arresting people.
Yeah, I've gone on YouTube. Like, you can Google YouTube videos of people making citizen arrests, and, like, they're pretty interesting. There'll be, like, a guy, and he's like, I'm placing you under citizen arrest, and there's, like, a guy on the other side of the car, and he's like, stop resisting, I'm putting you under citizen's arrest, and the guy's, like, trying to run away and stuff. I'm like... I mean, I don't know, man.
Yeah, it doesn't seem really effective. That seems just like maybe like a urban legend or something.
Yeah, I have no idea if citizen's arrest is a real thing even. I've never researched it, man. But even if it is, like, since when is Batman? Let's say citizen's arrest is an actual, real legal precedent that you can apply. You can put somebody under. Since when is Batman the vigilante going to abide by the law?
Right. The next thing he's going to be like licensing the Batmobile, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't have plates. You can't.
Right.
Anyway,
yeah. He's like, I got to renew my registration on the Batmobile.
Yeah, here, mail me my new plates at the Batcave. It's under Wayne Manor.
Okay, so Batman, he's escaped the full Nelson. He follows up with like a right cross, a left uppercut, and he's put the Hangman down. Yeah, so Batman's coming back now. He learned from his first match, okay? And the Hangman, Batman's like, you had enough, Hangman? And Hangman says, you'll never bring me in like a common criminal, Batman. We'll meet another time. And he takes off through like a door, like a door in the alley.
There just happens to be a door that's opened, and he walks in and locks it, that Batman can't get in, and it's over.
Yep.
Like, that's so anticlimactic, man. Batman would have some tech. They could see through the walls, and he'd meet him on the outside door where he was escaping.
Or he just picked the lock, or, I mean...
or put explosives on the door.
It's the same thing. We're in 1960s era comics, DC, so, like, you've written yourself into a situation where you're like, okay, somehow I got to get the Hangman out of this situation. You can't come up with anything, so you just stick a door there. That's what it feels like.
Okay, and then the next panel, Batman just gives up, and he's back now watching TV with Dick. So, at the mansion. But this is something that has always... Okay, Batman is supposed to be a paragon of physical fitness. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Well, how the fuck does that happen when this guy gets, like, no rest? Like, he's up all day as Bruce Wayne, and then out all night as Batman. I've gone periods of time where I couldn't sleep. And it destroyed me. It's like the most important thing for your fitness.
Well, he's probably on a polyphasic sleep cycle, Jake. No, I'm just kidding. But well, I actually have researched polyphasic sleep because I've tried it. Like, I legitimately made a full go at it.
Like 4 hours on, 4 hours off, or 4 hours awake, or 4 hours off.
My goal was to sleep 2 hours a night, and then take 2 naps during the day. That was what I tried. That's what I tried for. And I got to where, like, I could get by, because I was like, okay, look, I've had kids, man. I don't need sleep. I know how to deal. I can deal. You know when you come across somebody that's never had kids, because they can't deal without sleep. And
you're just that's always what I tell them.
Yeah.
Whenever somebody's pregnant, I'm like, man, get your sleep right now.
Yeah.
Get your sleep now.
And I'll get that hard hat syndrome, where I'm just like, quit being a pussy and complaining about no sleep. You know what I'm saying? I'll get that hard hat syndrome where you start thinking that way, because I always tend towards that, and then I'm like, okay, I got to stop being so judgmental, But I was like, okay, I wanted to only sleep 2 hours a night, because if you can limit, like they say that Benjamin Franklin only slept like 2 to 4 hours a night. Like, a lot of these geniuses didn't sleep that long. And that's why they got like so much work done, right? And I was like, if I could work like 20 hours a day and just sleep like 4 hours a night, I could get a huge competitive advantage on everybody.
Oh yeah, plus you'd actually technically, if you're awake, you're whatever, however you define conscious, you would be awake more. Like, by the time he came to die, you would have actually maybe doubled the amount of time other people spent, like, actively being awake and alive,
Yeah. Now, the theory behind it is that if you take the naps, you start out with a 25-minute nap, And when you first try and do the 25-minute nap, you won't fall asleep right away. Like when you're first learning how to go polyphasic, you might not even fall asleep during your naps. But as you train and as you practice, you'll teach your body to fall asleep right away. And that did happen to me. Like the first 2 times I tried to take naps, I couldn't sleep. Pretty soon I would fall asleep like boom. Like as soon as I lie down, and I would go into like that super, have you ever been in like that super deep REM sleep where you're sleeping so deep like your body's twitching? It's not even, it's like because you're so exhausted. It's not even, I don't even know if it's because you're in such deep sleep, but you're so exhausted that your legs start twitching and stuff while you're sleeping. Like I was experiencing that. And
that's how like dogs and cats and shit sleep. They sleep like a couple hours, and man, they're having dreams, they're twitching, barking at shit.
Dude.
But it's only like an hour.
When you have that twitch sleep, dude, it actually feels really good. Like, it feels good. Like, I love it when I'm sleeping so deeply I twitch. But, like, it's like, the theory is that you'll go into a REM cycle, right away. And on a normal, like, 8-hour sleep cycle, you'll have, like, 1, maybe 2 REM cycles at the most. Okay? The idea behind a polyphasic sleep cycle is that you're going to have, if you take 2-3 naps, 25-minute naps a day, even though you're getting less hours of sleep, you'll have like 3 REM cycles in a 24-hour period, so your brain's going to think it's more rested than it really is. That's like the theory. So you're supposed to be able to somehow adjust to that. What I found happening was I got like big bags under my eyes, dark circles, like I felt like my physiology wasn't keeping up. And doing things athletically, I felt like I wasn't really recovering completely.
I don't see how you can, dude.
I felt like I started to age faster.
I mean, when you start looking at like Olympic athletes, they nap like, they sleep a full night's sleep, they bust their ass, and then they take naps, and they bust their ass, then they go back to sleep again. It's like workout, eat, sleep. Workout, eat, sleep. But sleep is part of the big 3,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like right now, it's like I gave up on that. Like after all that, I was like, okay, this isn't totally doable. I still utilize it from time to time, but the idea that I'm going to be able to function at an optimal level and sleep 2 hours a night with 3 25-minute naps, it just wasn't going to go. I gave it a good try, and I was reading on the blogs and stuff, and people are like commenting like, you just have to try longer. After a couple months, your physiology will adjust. And I'm just going, I don't know, man. Like I'm feeling pretty bad, and I was getting like really grumpy all the time because I'm so tired, So I'm like snapping at my wife and my kids and stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So
I think Batman would be a massive grump, dude.
Oh, he would have to be angry always, yeah.
Well, I mean, no. Bruce Wayne. I mean, Batman obviously is a grump, right? Like he's got the crazy gravelly voice and all that shit. But Bruce Wayne's got to be a total dickhead from lack of sleep.
Yeah. So Batman puts back his suit on, and they go back to so this is interesting. But before that, what's happening on the television, I think, is a little important. So there's a guy on TV. And Bruce Wayne in a thought bubble is thinking, that voice, it reminds me, great guns! No wonder, I thought the Hangman's voice was familiar. And then Robin says, what, his voice makes you think Kellerman Davies could be the Hangman? Wait a second, look at his cheek. There's a mark there. It's been treated, but you can still see it. That's where I landed one on the Hangman last night on that cheek. And then Robin says, holy hydrogen peroxide. So again, we're in that, that 1966 Batmania swept the nation. It's in the comic books.
So now Batman is on the trail. He thinks he's figured out the Hangman's secret identity. This Hangman has not committed a crime. He is being harassed and stalked by this weird dude, this weird rich dude in a bat suit. The Hangman has 100%. Not even committed a crime.
No, totally.
So then Batman
shows
up and he buys a ringside seat at the wrestling match.
Yes. And he shows
as
up
Batman.
As Batman. So after a disappointed crowd has watched its favorite villain win again, so that means like the Hangman has just won another wrestling match, Batman confronts him. And the Hangman says, Batman, if you're game, we'll settle the quarrel between us tonight. And Batman says, I'm game, Hangman. And then Hangman whispers something to him, and he just says, good, here's what I propose, listen. And then it says, biz, 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 and you don't know what he's proposing, but Batman agrees to it.
Yeah, I don't even get this. They're like buddies now. Like, so now it looks like they're going to work the match to me. I mean, I'm so cynical.
It could be. So they're leaving, and everyone's saying they're disappearing together out the exit. Which way did they say? What did they say to each other? Where are they going to go? So the writer's trying to leave us all in suspense. They're trying to build some suspense, like what's going to happen, you know? And they end up on a rooftop.
Yeah, they're going to battle on a rooftop instead of in the ring.
Right. So they're going to have the match on a rooftop, and it's on, and they start punching each other, and there's like all these people watching, and it says
in the neighboring buildings.
And then it says as the sounds of combat causes lights to go on roundabout, and people are like, it's Batman and the Hangman. They're battling out on the roof. And this guy's like, wowie, we've got a ringside seat to the greatest fight of the year.
Yeah. Meanwhile, nobody made any money on this match. That's what's pissing me off at this point.
Yeah, seriously, dude. There's so many things.
Dude, they could have at least sold tickets.
No kidding. I mean, why wouldn't you have just built it right there as a big event, man? And the next
do it in the ring.
Yeah,
they should have just done it in the ring right there. Okay, so the Hangman gets Batman in the Hangman's finishing move is this one-arm rear naked choke thing that he slammed the last Apache guy with, and it's called the Hangman's Knot.
That's cool.
And he's totally choked him out.
He's totally choked him out. Now he's holding him by the cape. So this is like the cover shot, and he's dangling him like over the ledge of the building, and he's saying,
"It's a mask. It's a mask versus mask match, dude."
It is. And he's saying, here, take back your champion, Gotham City. I'm finished with him. But first, there's one more matter to take care of. The victor's right. And he's going to unmask Batman.
Ooh, man, that's some lucha stuff right there.
Yeah. And he does. And it's Telemann Davies, the TV announcer. So Bruce Wayne is not in the Batman suit. The television announcer is. And suddenly, it says, just as I hoped, this little trick of mine...
No, it is Bruce Wayne. It is Bruce Wayne.
Oh, okay, so we do a double...
But Bruce Wayne is such a master of disguise that he made himself look like the secret identity of the Hangman, this Telemann Davies.
Oh, so they just did a switch... So it's not even a switcheroo. It's a mask underneath a mask.
So because he knew who he was... Bruce Wayne said, I'm going to fight the Hangman. And as an insurance policy, I'm going to go through this elaborate hair and makeup to look like this other dude.
So that if I lose and he unmasks me, I'll look like him.
I'll look like him, and that'll blow his mind so much that it'll give me time to recover. That's like the whole thing here, because he says, so after he pulls off the mask, and it's this Telemann Davies guy that's Batman, he goes, suddenly, and this is a thought bubble of Batman's, just as I hoped, this little trick of mine making up my face to look like Telemann Davies gave me the breathing spell I needed to get back on my feet and back into this fight again. And then he just whacks with a big Zoc, which, of course, that Zoc has got to be an homage to a reference to the TV show.
Well, because it's a striker versus grappler, I guess, and Batman knew, I guess he anticipated that he wouldn't be able to match the Hangman's grappling and submission abilities. So he just figured, okay, I'll take the submission, I'll tap out, he'll unmask me, and then I'll knock him out.
And then he knocks him out, takes the Hangman's mask, and it's Telemann Davies again.
Okay, so now he says, and the truth is, Commissioner, so now he's telling Commissioner Gordon, the police chief, all the details of this, which I still don't even know what crime was committed. And the truth is...
this guy didn't do a single thing.
Dude.
This poor guy
Batman
is just a pro wrestler.
Batman's a dick in this one.
He's
a freaking jerk.
He's like, Batman's like a preview of the Patriot Act or something here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the truth is, Commissioner, that the Hangman resolved to become the most famous secret identity personality in Gotham City. But in order to achieve that aim, he had to eliminate me, his chief masked rival. That's why
he wasn't doing shit. He wasn't trying to eliminate Batman. Batman's making shit up at this point.
Yeah, because it's like, I don't think in this story anywhere the Hangman ever said, hey, I'm appearing at all these crime scenes so I can confront you because I need to take you out so that I'm the most famous masked person in the city.
Yeah.
They never established that. So that's why
Batman's totally full of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Batman's got it. Dude, his ego is like out of control here. That's why he tried to unmask. Yeah, because Batman's basically bragging about how he's the most famous secret identity personality in all of Gotham.
Yeah, he's like, I just won the championship to like be the only dude that can wear a mask.
Yeah, totally. That's why he tried to unmask me. All his attempts to arrange a contest between us were for that sole purpose. Once we suspected his real identity, Robin trailed him and made sure we were right. You know the rest, Commissioner Gordon. Yes, he's gone from Gotham City now. Batman and Robin, due to his actions, he lost his TV job, and I think we can all say good riddance. Dude, so they not only did he unmask the dude, but he's lost his job. Think about it. This dude had 2 jobs. It was a
cool job. He was on TV, man. He was probably getting late from that gig.
Yeah, he was a TV newsreader and a famous pro wrestler. Like the only person more well known than him in Gotham City that wore a mask was Batman. Like in the whole city of like 1 million plus people. So like, dude, this guy was probably, now both his careers have been taken away from him overnight.
Okay, but I am about to blow your mind.
All right.
This is something that if anybody in the DC writing bullpen, they better damn well write us a check. Okay?
All right.
But this is also so obvious to me, somebody might have already written it, so I don't know. Okay, that last 2 panels, right?
Yeah.
It says, Gordon says, yeah, he's gone from Gotham City now, Batman and Robin, and due to his actions, he lost his TV job, and I think we could all say good riddance. I mean, the guy didn't do anything. So anyway, it says, on a boat bound for South America, an embittered figure stands at the rail towards the unseen horizon. It's this poor guy. What's his name? Tellman Davies.
Yeah.
And he goes, when I think that I could have exposed Batman's secret identity instead of his exposing mine, on our very first encounter near that pawn shop, after I knocked him out, I almost had the mask off my hated rival. Then, but suddenly that police siren sounded. I should have ignored it. They had nothing on me because you didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah,
but instead I ran. I panicked. I lost my nerve. That was my trouble. I lost my nerve and my chance with it. Yeah. And that's the end. But here's the mind blower. Where is this boat heading?
South America? Is that what it says?
South America.
South America.
Yes. South America. This guy is a big dude like a pro wrestler, right?
Right.
And he physically beat the shit out of Batman. We've seen that.
Right.
What if he's Bane's dad?
That would be cool. Yeah.
Because isn't Bane like South American something?
Bane came from a made-up republic or a made-up country that was supposed to be like somewhere in the Mediterranean or somewhere down in South America.
It's like Latin, though. Like he was supposed to be Latin or something, right?
And the idea,
I'm telling you, Tellman Davies is Bane's dad.
The origin of Bane was his dad. His dad was a criminal or did something, and then I don't remember if he died or fled. I'll review it when we go through the Bane story arc. And then Bane had to was imprisoned as an infant, and the way the laws were in that country was like the child had to pay for all the crimes and debts of the parents if the parents couldn't pay them.
Father, yeah.
Yeah. So he was in prison his whole life and just like paying the debt that his father built up. So yeah, you could make this guy. I think you could totally make this guy Bane's father. That would be freaking rad. And then it would explain why Bane went pro wrestler.
You know how like they did they took the Crusher Hogan story and had that Raven guy rewrite the entire scenario from that issue from the perspective of Crusher Hogan, right?
Right.
They should do a whole like breaking of Batman's back issue and have Telman Davies, the Hangman, be Bane's father, but it would give like a sense of righteousness because Batman sent off Bane's dad with like, with no cause. Batman ruined this dude's life, man.
Yeah, he did. Dude, we should write that. Oh, that brings it up, though. What we need to talk about is that our zine. So people don't know, me and Jake are going to put together a zine. If you don't know what a zine is, it's just like a really inexpensively published like little magazine. It's usually printed like on like copy paper with like a cardstock cover folded over the top, stapled, saddle stitched together. And because what we want to do is there's so much crazy stuff we like talk about and go through in the podcast, and we're going to just put together like cool things and stick it in this. And maybe
zines were huge in the 90s, like right before the internet. Anybody could make a zine and then get it distributed or put together in like skateboard shops or comic book stores.
Totally,
they were super popular.
No, they were. It was like going all the way back to freaking the 40s and the 30s. You had people making zines and just distribute them, get them around. There's still people making them. Like there's zine fests and stuff where you can go and trade zines with people and everything. So there's still a thing, but they've not as nearly as big because of the internet. But the reason why we want to make an actual physical zine, because what we think will be cool, what our plan will be is we'll start working on it soon, and when we feel like we're about ready to put the first one out, we're just going to run an Indiegogo to like raise up just enough money to print it. Like we're not going to try to make much money at all, just to print it and mail it. So that's how you'll be able to get it, is you can just back it or order it on the Indiegogo. And what we're hoping to do is just be able to start distributing like a real physical zine to like everybody that like listens to our podcast or that's into the stuff that we talk about.
Yeah, and we're zigging while everybody else is zagging. So we're actually going to send you real like atoms, not just electrons, full on atoms.
Dude, and it's like, if
I guess electrons are atoms. Let me say it differently. Instead of just sending you electrons, we're going to send you molecules. We're going to actually send you like actual carbon molecules with ink on it.
And we want to be able to make like cool swag and stuff later. Like, you'll get like stickers and stuff. Part of what made me think it'd be cool too is like we did the Danzig episode, the Misfits. They had the Fiend Club, where you sent them like $1.99 and you got in the Fiend Club, and they'd send you like a catalog and some stickers and stuff.
Yeah, and patches. I mean, that was cool shit back in the day. People don't do like stickers and patches. I mean, I guess they do. You probably are more aware of it because of the whole comic book thing.
Yeah, some people do. It's not a lot. Like, I mean, I go and table at a lot of comic book conventions, and you have a lot of people that are all kind of doing the same thing, which is mostly like fan art prints. So they've done artists that have done illustrations of their favorite characters, and then they've made prints of them and they sell them. And that's pretty much what like everybody's doing. But I have a ton of stickers that I sell, all kinds of cool ones that I made that are like high quality screen printed vinyl stickers. and they're really the ink quality is like really vibrant on these things because the ink was pulled through a screen right onto the vinyl. And there are people that go to these conventions that like just buy stickers. It's kind of interesting, and they'll have like these collections of like all these stickers they've bought from different artists at all these Comic Cons. But like that's all I really see as far as stickers and stuff. I don't see any patches, nothing. But the main thing is like it would be cool. Like we could write like 1-page synopsis of this fan fiction of Bane's father being the Hangman, and we'll publish it in our zine and send it to everybody that's into it.
We could do like fan fiction.
Totally. We could do like a fan fiction of, and there's all kinds of cool stuff we want to put into it. Another thing I want to do is like put in, because one of our podcasts we talked about the whole timeline of like Bernard McFadden and Hugo Gernsback and all these different publishers and stuff. I'll do a timeline, like I'll do like an illustrated timeline of all these different things that happened and how they connect to each other. So kind of like a mind map with arrows and stuff showing how everything is connected. And there's a lot of fun things we want to do.
Yeah, I'm excited, dude. I think it was another good episode, but I definitely want to get to Bane because, I mean, dude, the other thing is Bane doesn't really have a superpower per se. He just does a shit ton of steroids.
Yeah, the whole Bane, so this type of steroid he uses is called Venom. And
okay.
Dude, we'll go into that because there's a whole backstory on Venom. It's just so badass. It's sick, man.
All right, I'm excited. I don't know anything about it, so I'm excited.
If you'd like to follow me, Sam Crescent, on Instagram, you can find me at World's Deadliest Art. If you want to follow Jake on Instagram, you can find him at Anomalous. To check out other show notes, links, and other cool stuff pertaining to this, as well as previous podcasts, go to worldsdeadliestpodcast.com. Also, don't forget to go to strengthmonsters.com, download the first issue of my comic book, Strength Monsters in Eat a Burrito, where two professional wrestlers have to take on a luchador from Southeast Mexico that has waged war on all the local taco shops in their community. Also, don't forget to go check out scientificwrestling.com for all the latest dates and registration for catch wrestling training camps, seminars, and workshops. As usual, make sure you stay tuned to this channel as we'll have another podcast coming out real soon. Music on this podcast is brought to you by Incompetech.com, INCOMPETECH.com. Go to Incompetech.com, where you can find lots of great royalty-free music by Kevin McLeod. Again, Incompetech.com.
Two professional wrestlers battle to defend their local taco shop against a giant human burrito in the brand new very first issue of Strength Monsters. Over 30 pages of unstoppable, on-the-fringe, underground comic book action. Visit worldsdeadliestwebcomic.com today and download your free issue for a limited time only.